Overwatch has always had a fair amount of game modes to play. Hybrid, Escort, and Control were all staples of Overwatch 1. Of course, Assault was also part of that lineup, but it got removed for, let's just say, good reasons. That change happened with the launch of Overwatch 2, actually, which of course meant a new mode had to take its place. And that mode would be Push. A mode I think maybe just as bad, but at least there's less maps, meaning less chance to get the mode, I guess. Now later into the life of Overwatch 2, we get 2 more game modes in the form of Flashpoint and Clash. By the way, if you want to see Angels, try taking a shot every time I say the word mode in this video. The latter of those game modes, Clash, would be removed from competitive play because they overall needed more work to actually function in a competitive environment. So essentially, we currently only have 5 core game modes: Hybrid, Escort, Control, Push, and Flashpoint. And would you believe me if I told you that out of all 5 of those game modes, I think only 2 of them are actually any good? Well, I would hope not, because Hybrid and Escort, despite being flawed game modes, are still fun. I don't hate playing on a majority of these maps. I just prefer the other 2 game modes, Control, and yes, Flashpoint. Also, I hate Push. But to explain why I enjoy Control and Flashpoint so much, we have to actually talk about every game mode in the game. So, let's start off with the Control. Control is pretty self-explanatory. It's just a fair game mode. Team versus team on fair ground. Even the worst map, Antarctic Peninsula, is still perfectly even for both sides. Perfectly even. Control works in this way. Every single map actually has 3 smaller maps within it. All 3 maps can be played in any order, and the game ends once one team gets 2 points. This is where Flashpoint differs, as instead of there being 3 different maps in one, it's a singular big map with 5 points. The first team to capture 3 will win. This may sound amazing. It's just Control, except it's bigger. But is bigger always better? Well, the Overwatch community seems to think no. Now, granted, the Overwatch community is a special breed of stupid. Like, shoutouts to everyone who saw me complaining about the bindings on Wu Young's ult making me accidentally wasting my ult on myself. Just say, well, swap primary and secondary.
My goodness, what an idea.
Why didn't I think of that?
The reason why Control is so good is because it's fully balanced. Neither team is at an advantage. The problem is fights are very samey. When you're on Ilios Ruins, every fight takes place here, here, or here. This is simply the problem with small maps and unmoving objectives. This is helped with the fact that each game on Control will have multiple maps to play on, so at least there's variety between games. Not every single game on Ilios will have ruins, and that's a good thing. But still, none of the rotations actually fix this. The places the fights take place on are still the same. If you have even as low as 100 hours on this game, you know where to fight on almost about every single stale point in the game. So via this logic, why would I argue that Control is probably the objective best game mode? Well, cause either way, I'd rather fight in the same environments where everything is fair than moving environments where things are unfair for one side. Now, you would think this would make Push the best, right? The map is mirrored, it's got dynamic fights through the moving objective, and it's so poorly executed! So, turns out even map design isn't the only thing that goes into making a good, fair game mode. Even if I like the maps Push offers, Push is a poorly designed game mode from its core, and it's thanks to one simple thing: the timer. So let me spell it out for you. My team can push the point just barely away from the end of the map in just 2 minutes. Now, we have to defend that position for 8 minutes. The more you push early on, the more you screw yourself over. You know, this might not sound like a problem. Well, you beat them for 2 minutes, why can't you beat them for 8 more? But 8 minutes is a lot of time to throw shit at a wall. Eventually, it could stick, and suddenly you see, well, you crushed them for 2 minutes, they flailed around for 8 and accidentally won a few fights. The only good fix I can come up for this game mode is to make it so that both teams only get 5 minutes to push. Once your timer's up, you can no longer push the robot to the enemy's side. But then it's just Escort, but with extra steps. Speaking of Escort, however, it and Hybrid both have those dynamic fights. Sure, one team might be favored on one side of the map, but in comp, that doesn't matter a whole lot since both teams get to play both sides. So yeah, it's kinda perfect actually. Unfortunately, humans are flawed creatures, so even perfections sometimes isn't enough. I enjoy Escort, and mostly Hybrid, but the rounds in comp just take too long for me to fully enjoy the modes there. I don't enjoy 20-minute games, I enjoy 10 to 15 minutes. When I play a game of Stadium, I play them knowing and expecting 20 to 30 minute games. But when I play comp, I mainly want to play those 10 to 15 minute games. Now, I much prefer Escort over Hybrid, and I think you can tell why. For starters, why must every map start with the Assault side? Like, come on, wouldn't it be really unique to have a map that starts in Escort and ends in Assault? It could be something a little unique to make the mode stand out just that tad bit more. But the other reason why Hybrid is just a peg lower than Escort is the same reason why I don't like Assault. And that's because almost every single one of the first points has 2 ways to push in. Maybe 3 if it's a generous map. But also, none of them are any good. It's a choke point where both teams fight until hopefully one of them loses. Rinse and repeat until the game ends or a point is capped. Alright, we can almost start talking about Flashpoint, but for a laugh, let's talk about the other 2 game modes real quick. Assault and Clash. Assault basically isn't even in the game anymore. In order to play it, you must choose it in its own card. And the reason for this is, wow, it's nearly every single problem in one! It's got your stale points, it's not balanced unless you add double the match length, and don't you worry, there's only ever 3 ways to push in. One feeling impossible to push, and the other 2 feeling equally as impossible. And to add on to this glorious package deal, it's got the Assault Special, meaning you get to do this shit, but twice! By the way, massive thank you to everyone in the Dizzy Lizzy Discord server who joined in to play Assault so I could get footage. Even though it's not a great mode, we still had a very fun time. And if you want to join any future events, you can join with a link in the description. Clash is not nearly as flawed as Assault is, or even Push for that matter. Clash's major problems are, wow, the points are too close, and the other problem is that if you take mid, you're in the advantage. If the enemy takes B or E, you know, the points that are easier for them to defend due to spawn positions, now the match is suddenly even. I think this could be fixed really easily. Point C should stay the same. It's 1 point for either team. As for point B and D, however, the point will work like points A and E act now, but instead of being worth 3 points for the attacking team, it's worth 2. So as long as the attacking team doesn't completely throw away the point, they'll still likely be at an advantage. Then of course the final points of A and E stay the exact same with a total of 3 points to be gained. Raise the amount of points needed to winning a game to 6, and bam, I think you could save a good amount of the mode's problems. The fights might still feel a little stale because of the small map design, but cards on the table, stale fights are just a thing with most games in general. And I don't care too much about it. I'm less so highlighting this point to say why other modes are bad, and more so saying it to emphasize why I think Flashpoint is such a phenomenal mode. For the most part. And yes, it's finally that time you've been waiting for since you clicked on the video. Me telling you to subscribe! Come on, baby, hit that button. You know you wanna. Hit subscribe, come on. It's red. To see it, how juicy red it is, except it's not red because it's gray for some reason. Oh, and also join my Discord. And look at this funny clip we got while we're streaming.
It depends who you're asking. It depends who you're asking. You're asking Reinhardt. You're asking Reinhardt.
Reinhardt's a racist! And also, why not tell me what your favorite Overwatch 2 game mode is and why in the comments below. I always enjoy hearing what people think and opening my eyes to new perspectives. Okay. Fine. Let's get to the clickbait-worthy title. Why is Flashpoint so hated? Well, I think first we should discuss in depth how Flashpoint functions, as it did for the other game modes. So Flashpoint is basically control, but more. The first point of each map is the most fair, as both spawns are completely the same. And you know what? The first fight on each map is almost always the same. On Saravasa, you fight here, on New Junk, you fight here. Hell, even on Atlas, we know you fight here. But it's every single fight after that makes the magic of this game mode shine. On just the first point of Saravasa, there are 4 total areas to fight from. You can go from the stairs, jumping straight onto the point, the window, and the front entrance are all good places to fight. Yes, the point stays in the same spot, but every single fight takes place somewhere different, allowing for more variety. Because as we know, moving objectives are nearly impossible to balance for both teams, but stationary ones, while stale, should be completely fair. And yeah, I'm sure at the top, there is a best position to fight. But being humbly mid as fuck, oh my lord, this is perfection. And almost all of the currently 15 have at least 3 different areas to fight from. And yes, they don't feel impossible to push. Unfortunately, this is where we get into one of our first problems. When playing defense, you may as well be glued to the point, since that's the only place you know the enemy team will push for. You could set up around other areas, but simply sticking in the middle will be your only way to watch every single angle. Yeah, it's finally time. Let's talk about the flaws of Flashpoint. So I asked my community what problems the mode has, and the most common response I got was that people, like, of course have the most rare breed of Overwatch players. And you know, this makes sense. Try as I might, it was hard to find anyone who could come up with any genuine reason as to why they don't like the game mode. So here is but a list of what I could scrounge up as actual reasons to not enjoy the game mode. 1. It takes too long to walk from one point to the other. In other words, Flashpoint is nothing but a walking simulator. Not really. In current iterations of the game mode, the walk between spawn and the point usually isn't that bad, even when compared to Control. And even then, that's kind of a dumb reason to hate a mode that otherwise is really fun when the fighting gets started. Like, how can you hate a mode for 1/10 of it? 2. The games take too long. Oh, hello there, quick play warrior. I'll admit, I'm someone who mainly plays quick play. I really only actually play comp when it's for videos or drives or something like that. But if you're a comp player who enjoys Hybrid and Escort, you are legally not allowed to complain about how long Flashpoint takes. On a regular game, it can be a little bit longer than Control, yes, but not by a whole lot. And personally, I don't feel the length. This may be a strange thing to say, but let me explain. In Hybrid and Escort, I feel the fact that the game is taking longer when I get to the second round, and I'm just like, alright, time to do all of that shit. But on the other side, if a minute of your average Flashpoint match is spent walking and that's a bad thing, why is it okay for a minute of Escort and Hybrid games to be spent on nothing more than waiting? Literally fucking waiting if you're on the attacking side. But okay, surely there's a genuine reason to not like Flashpoint. This next one comes from Grace. After asking her for about an hour to explain why she thought Flashpoint was bad, she finally said 3. You can die in between points on Flashpoint, leaving your team in a complete disadvantage for the next point, which is simply not a thing in Control or any other map due to where the respawn rooms are placed. Well, yeah, that's a fair reason to hate the game mode. Good job, Grace. You validated your opinion by giving me a reason as to why you don't like the mode, something most players could not do. I really can't argue with that point. That is something that happens in Flashpoint. I don't personally agree with it. I think the problem is just don't die, but I can see why you don't like that part of the game mode. Heck, I'll even throw one in myself. 4. The respawn rooms are not the same, meaning one side will have an advantage. This is true, objectively so. The spawn points are not fair, but they feel fair for the most part. On all the 15 different points, I don't think a single team loses more than the other team. But for sure, this is likely something that happens. I am sure some of these points are even as big as 60 to 40. So wait, there's 2 genuine reasons to not enjoy this game mode. Now, going back to my post, there was one claim that really stood out to me. 5. You gain percentage faster if you're losing, causing the game mode to be imbalanced. My counter-argument? What? That's just not true. I looked on the wiki and even kidnapped Millicop to test this. And yeah, that's just untrue. Where you learned this, I have no idea. But I think I know why you learned this. Let me take you back to when Flashpoint was first released. Season 6. The same season we got PvE. The only PvE. After years and years, we got 3 missions priced at $15. Oh, and don't forget that not that long ago, it was announced that they cut one of the main features of the PvE, that being the customization of your heroes. Along with that, the game launched on Steam. We all know how that went. Season 6 was peak Doomerwatch, a time in the community where even someone like me could barely defend what this game was. Characters were still in the Battle Pass. There was still not a damned reason to play the game once you finish said Battle Pass, and the game just wasn't very fun. Every little flaw was held under a magnascope and treated like the most egregious thing ever, and Flashpoint was no different. Which sucked because Saravasa was a really good map. It was fun, it was dynamic, and it was new. But the other map the game mode launched with, well, New Junk City, more than anything, I think caused the disdain for this game mode. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. Old New Junk was kinda bad. It had so many simply weird design decisions. But notice my language. I said Old New Junk. In Season 17 of Overwatch 2, we got reworks of the previous maps, along with a new map in Atlas. These reworks, they fixed so much about the previous designs. Yes, even Servaz was somehow improved. But New Junk City got a complete redo. While each point still has what made it unique, they were also made fun to fight on. Now, why would I make a video like this then? It sounds like all's well that ends well. Well, the Overwatch community doesn't like to change. Flashpoint in Metal Ranks is the least voted for game mode with map voting. And this is just sad. I feel like so many people miss the fact that the maps got changed, cause like, seriously? The reason people don't like Flashpoint is because people refuse to give it a second chance. But you can spread the word. Pick Flashpoint when it comes up, and encourage people to give this mode another chance. Maybe even shoot this video their way. Heck, send it to everyone, get the word going. Flashpoint deserves a second chance. Simply put, I just really enjoy the game mode. And I can't argue with opinions. I don't enjoy Hybrid and Escort as much as others, and that's okay. You might put on a more optimistic outlook and try Flashpoint again, only to end up not liking it still. And that's okay. I just want people to give the mode one more look. Just clear your head and make an unbiased opinion about the mode. I'd like to thank Napius, Leviathan, and Keiko for supporting me on Patreon. If you want to join them, you can support me for as low as $1 a month, and you'll get access to nearly 5 hours of exclusive content over there.